The Seattle Seahawks went off script a little bit in the first round, grabbing Devon Witherspoon at the top of that draft. Then Jackson Smith-Njigba at 20, loading up on that offensive skill group. Now they've added to it again. Zach Charbonnet, the running back from UCLA, joining a high-octane offense. I'm Peter Bukowski, joined by Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks. Locked On NFL Draft coverage presented to you by Ultimate Football GM. You think you could run an NFL franchise? Visit ultimate-gm.com to play the ultimate NFL GM simulation game. Start your dynasty today. Corbin, Zach Charbonnet, a running back in a backfield now with Kenneth Walker. He is a big body back. Kenneth Walker a little bit smaller, but they're both mean runners. What does he bring to this offense?
You summed up the perfect word there. He is a mean runner at 214 pounds. He has tree trunks for legs, a little different body composition compared to Ken Walker III, who is a powerful runner, but isn't necessarily at his best running between the tackles, not going to be trucking guys. Charbonnet is going to come after you with his shoulders lowered, and he is looking to lower the boom. And he finishes with authority. He drags tacklers consistently. Not somebody that's going to make people miss in space. So he is that prototypical between the tackles downhill runner that is a little bit different and complements what Ken Walker III brings, more of a wiggle back that can break tackles. But again, these two should really complement one another. And I think what really stands out about Charbonnet is a lot of times with these power backs that are short yardage guys, they don't offer much versatility, but Charbonnet actually caught 60-plus passes the last 2 years for UCLA, and he's gradually improved as a pass protector. So you might have some third down back flexibility with him as well as a second-round pick. But we know one thing, with how many running backs have gotten injured for the Seahawks in the last 5 or 6 years, you can guarantee that Charbonnet is going to get a lot of playing time, even with Ken Walker III cemented as your starter.
And even with all the investment they've made at the wide receiver position, the contract they gave to Geno Smith, you know Pete Carroll wants to run the football. They had some options here. This is a very this was where a lot of the defensive linemen were coming off the board. Were you surprised they didn't go that direction here?
At this stage, I am surprised now that we are now 4 picks into this draft, and Seattle has not addressed the trenches at all. They have not picked a defensive tackle. They still only have 3 healthy ones on the roster right now. They don't have a healthy nose tackle. And then on offense, they did sign Evan Brown in free agency, but he's the only center they have on their roster, and he's on a 1-year contract. Both their projected starting guards are free agents next year too. So I am surprised at this stage that they have not done anything on the offensive line or their interior defensive line. You have to believe pick number 83 coming out of the 3rd round, that one of those 2 position groups has to be where they're going to be drafting. And yet at this point, John Schneider continues to show we're going to beat to our own drum. So who knows what they're going to end up doing at that pick.
Yeah, after going a little off script in the first round, this seems more in keeping with what we've seen from the Seahawks over the last few years. You mentioned that interior defensive line. Anywhere else you think that they could stand to add in a draft where they've got plenty of draft capital to do it?
I think that getting another linebacker would make sense, because even though they re-signed Bobby Wagner and brought in Devin Bush, both those players are on 1-year deals, and Wagner isn't getting any younger. He's going to be 33 this summer, so they need to find.
You said this last time we talked, and they still haven't done it.
Yeah, they need to go out and get a younger linebacker at some point, and this is not a deep class at that position. A lot of guys getting drafted here on day 2, so not a lot of options necessarily there, but linebackers position, and I think tight end beyond this year. They have 3 really good ones, but 2 of them are going to be free agents next year, and in the draft you got to be looking a couple years ahead as well. So I could see tight end. It's a really good tight end class. That could be a position that they could go in attack mode. And I also would not be surprised if they drafted another running back too, because they only had 2 on the roster going into this draft, Ken Walker III and DJ Dallas. And we've seen the injuries at that position. You got to have depth.
Always.
They've got a bunch of picks, so I think it'll be later on day 3. But getting another running back that has a little different skill set to go with Ken Walker III, Zach Charbonnet, is something that I could see happening as well.
Well, you are going to have plenty to talk about in Seahawks land, Corbin. For those of you who want to get more on the Seahawks draft and all things Seahawks, Locked On Seahawks is your place. Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Corbin, thanks, man.
Thank you.